What's funny about this is I get comments like this all the time from men. And I think that because so many of you follow behind the same manosphere, like pickup artists, quote unquote, pseudo men's rights activists, you aren't learning women. You're not learning leadership skills. You're not learning how to start a family or to stabilize a community. You're not learning how to be a father and husband. You are just learning how to be more selfish in regards to what you want. And you can't be like that if you want a woman to be in your life. It's the same thing with women. Women can't be selfish and then expect for a man to want to be with them. As a black man in a leadership role, it is your responsibility to build your kingdom, right? And it's also your responsibility to repair the parts of your kingdom. So let's, for all intents and purposes, classify the black community as a kingdom, okay? And they're different kings, a series of kings running this community, okay? And inside of that community, there are a lot of things that need to be fixed, a lot of problems that need to be solved. And one of the major problems inside of that community is children growing up in unhealthy environments. And part of the reason why they're unhealthy environments to begin with is because there isn't a king inside of that household managing it. Okay? So as a man who is already building a kingdom or wants to build a kingdom, instead of him realizing that a lot of the problems that will arise inside of that kingdom will be because a lot of the children inside of that kingdom will be raised in environments that aren't healthy. And as those children get older, it will affect the kingdom in a negative manner. So instead of just seeing the child inside of an unstable environment, it's the responsibility of all of the kings inside of that kingdom to clean the mess up that was made by the men who aren't kings inside of that community. Because the kingdom or the community has kings, but it also has men who were raised in unhealthy households, who were raised improperly. I'm not saying that men who were raised improperly were only raised by single mothers, because some men who were raised improperly were raised by their fathers. Some men just were raised improperly, whether they were raised by a single father or whether they were raised by both of their parents. But one of the biggest problems we have in our kingdom or in our community is moms spreading themselves too thin because they have too many children than they can take care of, or dads not taking care of their children at all. So as a king, right, it becomes your responsibility, if you are a leader, if you are a mentor, if you are a role model, and you have the skills associated with that, it becomes your responsibility to help repair your kingdom. You are a king. That's what your responsibility is. Again, not every man is a king. But what the kings of the community and the kingdom as a whole, because it's little kingdoms inside of a large kingdom. Okay? It's like a kingdom with subgroups, sub-kingdoms. Okay? If all of these children are growing up in broken sub-kingdoms where there's no king or there's improper guidance, other kings can take responsibility for the kingdom as a whole by sharing their resources to help repair the community as a whole. But it's a lot of men out there who aren't kings to begin with, who ruined kingdoms or mismanaged kingdoms, but go around here talking about how much of a king they are. So it's women who want to be queens or who are already queens falling victim to interacting with these men who are parading around pretending that they have some type of leadership skills or they have an amazing character. Then you got women out there who aren't queens because they came from a mismanaged, broken kingdom. So what they do is they go after men who have a toxic masculinity that are parading around with this facade of what a king is. So they go after this dude thinking that's who he is. That's who y'all call the Pookies, the Ray Rays, the rappers who have all of these baby mamas like Future and shit like that. Those are men who were raised in a mismanaged kingdom. And the only women who are attracted to men who were raised in a mismanaged kingdom or a broken family, of broken, mismanaged families. Because the men who are in leadership roles, who are kings, who can share their resources and help repair our community, are called simps. They're disrespected by the men who aren't even kings to begin with. But it's so many more men who aren't kings that it seems like majority wins. And majority, of course, doesn't win. It just seems that way. It seems like numbers don't lie. So you have all of these men who aren't kings running the community and the kingdom instead of the kings that are supposed to, because it's not a lot of them. So if there were more kings with more resources, more leadership skills, more education, that were raised in more proper homes or managed homes or kingdoms, it would be better men and women. But people don't understand that concept. And the people who are kings and queens who were raised in proper households, instead of them taking responsibility for the community, because it's a hefty ass responsibility, they rather just not have it. Some, because any kind-hearted person, any person who has resources and has a kind heart and is intellectual will take all the responsibility. That's what Russell Wilson is. Russell Wilson is a king who knows how to run a kingdom. So he took a mismanaged, broken kingdom and repaired it. Ergo, him repairing the black community as a whole. But it's not a lot of men out there that are trying to repair the black community. It's more black men out there who are more selfish and want to worry about their own community instead of realizing their subgroup or their sub-kingdom is part of a bigger community. So put it like this. Let's say a house that has pillars. Let's say a house has 4 pillars. But instead of each pillar doing what they need to do to support the entire home or the entire structure, one of the pillars decides, you know what? I don't care about the entire structure. I'm just going to walk off and care about myself. So that pillar is removed. Now that structure only has 3 pillars. There's only a matter of time before that imbalance makes the entire structure fall to the ground. That's what black men don't understand. And it would take more black men coming together wanting to save the black community or the black kingdom. Black men do not want to save the Black kingdom. Okay? And the Black women inside of the Black kingdom, coming from broken homes or mismanaged sub-kingdoms themselves, are trying to lead their kingdom. And it almost seems like it's emasculating men across the board because we are winning. Black queens are winning. We're getting our education. We're getting our money. We're starting our businesses. We are creating stable homes and generational wealth, which is something that Black men should be doing as well. But too many Black men are only selfishly thinking about getting a woman to do whatever it is that they want a woman to do, instead of focusing on their finances, their intellect, their kingdom, their sub-kingdom. If you focus on your sub-kingdom and you also understand that being a part of a bigger kingdom, you have a responsibility as a Black man with leadership skills, with resources and intellect and whatever, to repair your kingdom as a whole, not just repair your sub-kingdom. That's what Black men don't understand. I hope I explained that the best way I can. So back to this comment. Let's see if I can answer each one as honestly and as unbiased as possible. Okay? I'm a single mom. Of course, I believe that there are two types of single mothers. There are high-end single mothers and there are low-energy baby mamas. I do support all of us as a whole because I feel like our children are the future as far as the stableness of our environment. So I feel like each mom out there should have an opportunity to replace absent fathers or replace men who mismanage their sub-kingdom with a man who can properly lead, okay? Some women were so misguided that it's extremely difficult for you to help them, okay? But that's not every single mother. There is always an exception to a rule, okay? So this negative connotation that you guys put on top of single mothers, you can't put it all on all single mothers, okay? Because we're not created equal. Some of us are single moms because we keep having babies by the same guy that we know ain't shit. Then there's some single mothers out there who keep having babies by the same type of men that ain't shit. Then you got women who were married or were in a committed relationship and they had children with that person and their husband or boyfriend decided to abandon them with children. And the reason why is because the men that they connected themselves to begin with weren't necessarily being themselves. Okay, that's kind of like my situation. I have to remind people of my situation all of the time. I didn't pass up on a good guy because I prefer men who are losers. I'm actually attracted to nice, good guys. I love men who are stable, who laugh, who can intellectually carry a conversation with me, who are kind to me, very sociable, drama free. Those are the type of guys that I like. Okay. And those are the type of guys that I've always liked. My daughter's father is like that. And we have a 21-year-old. So that's the kind of guy I go after. I'm not saying I've never been with a thug before, but my thug days, like liking dudes that was like a problem, I stopped doing that when I was like 19. Okay. So I'm 41 now. And between 19 and now, I have never, ever been like, you know what? Let me go out here and date this thug. You know what I'm saying? Nah. A lot of men also believe that because a woman is no longer with the person that she had a child with, that must mean there is something wrong with her or something wrong with the person she had a child with. A lot of times people who are inside of a relationship with each other, after being with each other for a little while, they either outgrow each other because we consistently change as a person, or they were never compatible to begin with. It doesn't mean that either one of them is a bad person. They could both be good people. They're just not compatible with each other. My daughter's father is an amazing man, and I can't wait till he finds someone to marry. So there's no bad blood there. There's no hard feelings. And I think people think that when two people break up, it's supposed to be like some type of toxic environment after that. No, we just decided that we couldn't be together, and it doesn't mean that either one of us is a bad person. My son's father, on the other hand, we don't talk at all. Our son will be 4 this year, and we don't talk at all. And he's never met our son. And the reason why is because he decided to admit a little too late that he wasn't the type of man that he had depicted himself to be to me. He waited until I was pregnant to tell me that. Now, he could have told me this any time before then, but he decided to tell me this once I was pregnant, and he ended up apologizing to me. But to me, that's unforgivable. And it's not something I can forgive. Like, you don't just create a child with a woman, pretend you want to marry her, and then suddenly just come to her one day and say, you know what? I don't really love you like that. I wasn't really interested in that way. I want to be with somebody else. And I wasn't really being, honest with you about what I wanted or who I was. You don't wait until a woman is pregnant to tell her something like that. So to me, I feel like there's a level of dementia associated with that. Like, to me, he's the type of man that needs to seek therapy, because that, or just to feel comfortable with doing that to a woman, to me, a man who feels that comfortable with doing that needs to seek a mental health professional, because they're dealing with some type of traumas associated with their childhood or something like that. You can tell that's somebody that was raised inside of a mismanaged kingdom or a broken family, because just to feel comfortable with creating a child, like another human being, with someone that you don't even care about, or just interacting with someone sexually, or spending ample amounts of time with someone, building a lifestyle with someone that you don't care for, is off. And any man who feels comfortable with doing that, you have to seek therapy. So yours truly says, can Black women give me some answers on this? Not even trying to be an asshole at this point. But number one, if you feel it is your right to go through a hoe phase, why is it that you never want to go through this phase with the good, nice guy, and you always go through it with bad boys? To me, this is all about logic, okay? You're not supposed to, at least, go through your hoe phase with a man who wants to have kids, be married, and settle down. That's not appropriate. It's not smart to do something like that. You can end up hurting these men in the end. Men who want a family or want to be in a relationship or are ready to settle down do not go after women who are in their hoe phase, because they're looking for a wife. Okay, that's for starters. All right, so it makes sense to not, when you're going through your hoe phase, not date a man who is interested or is in another stage of his life. That's the mistake that a lot of men make. Like, a lot of men who are going through their community pipe phase, instead of them finding the woman who's going through her hoe phase, they will try to find a woman who wants to be married and have kids and stuff like that, and then turn around and break this woman's heart when they know that they themselves are not in that phase of life yet. And it ends up traumatizing women, because you have to lie to those type of women in order for you to even be able to get something from them. To get these women to even pay you attention, If you in your community pipe phase, you are going to have to lie to them. That's not smart to go around hurting a whole bunch of people because of a phase that you are in. If you are in your hoe phase or if you are in your community pipe phase, then find people who are on that same phase with you. Not a good person or a nice guy. That doesn't make any sense. And make sure that you protect yourself so you won't end up starting a family accidentally. Because that's what ends up happening with a lot of people who going through a quote unquote phase. They get stuck with a lifetime responsibility, all because they didn't know how to use birth control or to use condoms to prevent themselves from having an STD during a phase of their life. Number 2, are you honestly surprised that the nice guys end up resenting you because of that and don't want to marry you because of your single mother status? Contrary to what a lot of men believe, good guys are not giving me a hard time about me being a single mother. Good, nice guys are very kind to children. Like, they actually like children. They want children. They want to be fathers, and they don't mind being fathers to children that do not belong to them. No nice man who's ever walked up to me and asked me out on a date or wanted to be with me or wanted to take care of me gave me an issue about me being a single mother. Even now, with me being 42 this year, men of all ages still try to date me. And people think because I'm a single mother, it's going to stop men from trying to date me. No. All types of men try to date me and take me serious. I'm not talking about just date me and then they want to just jump me off or smash and dash me. Like, a lot of people on YouTube or a lot of men on YouTube are telling men to do. It's still men out here in the real world who have no issue with repairing a kingdom or repairing a damaged family. And usually it's the really, really nice guys that want to do that. Okay. My thing is, it doesn't make you a bad guy, right? If you want to start your own family and you don't want to date a single mother, okay? But don't think that no good man is going to want a single mother or is resenting a single mother. Because it's like somebody is dating single mothers. It has to be, because there's women out here with 3, 4, 5, 11 baby daddies. So somebody at some point, whether they're a good man or a bad man, has to date single mothers. So my question to you is, if you think that nice guys aren't dating single mothers and bad guys don't date single mothers either, who the fuck is dating single mothers? If it's not bad guys and it's not nice guys, then who's dating single mothers? Because it's single mothers out here getting married. It's single mothers going out on dates. It's still single mothers out here having sex. So who are dating these women? Good guys or bad guys? That's my question to y'all. Because I think y'all are under the impression that nobody is dating single mothers. No. If nice guys are getting into relationships and marriages and stuff with single mothers, right? And they aren't resenting single mothers, because that's exactly what's happening, because these women are getting married and they're having more children. Some of them aren't getting married and still having more children with decent dudes. So my question to you is, if good guys can't date single mothers and bad guys can't date single mothers, then who's dating single mothers? Fellas, you have to stop believing a lot of the stuff that you are seeing online from men who actually dislike women. There are men out here who are telling you and teaching you their behaviors because they are hurt. They haven't healed. They haven't went to therapy, and they're teaching you how to dislike women. They're not teaching you how to deal with women. They're teaching you to dislike us. And in the real world, we are not having the problems that you men continuously hear women are having on the internet. The internet is the internet. But in real life, 9 times out of 10, the single mothers that you guys keep hearing about, like, the welfare queens or the women who's walking around here juggling all these baby daddies and irresponsible and promiscuous, those are single mothers that's in your hood or in the 4 corners of the hood that some dude live in. If you step outside that hood and into the real world where the rest of everybody is living, you will see that a lot of single moms are appreciated and loved, because a lot of us aren't the type of woman that's collecting a whole bunch of baby daddies. A lot of us are not like that. A lot of us are not struggling financially. I know for me, what my biggest problem is not having someone to help me with my children. And until I get inside of a relationship or take someone serious to help me with, and just my son, because my son is young, until I take it serious, I'm not going to find anyone. It's been me not taking it serious because I have so many other things that I want to focus on. But am I having trouble with men, wanting to take me serious? No, I'm not having that problem at all. At all. And it's because I don't live in the hood. I'm not in the four corners of the hood where a dude who's barely making any money is sitting across looking at me, judging me for being a single mother. Like men out here who don't have leadership skills, don't have any resources, don't have any education, are turning around and looking at me, judging me for being a single mother. It's like, dude, how you judging a woman for having a child that a man abandoned her with, when your ass ain't got shit? You ain't got two nickels to rub together, but you want to judge another woman? That's crazy. I noticed that men who have the biggest problem with single mothers are the men who lack resources, the men who lack education, the men who lack leadership skills. I've seen it. It's too many times. Y'all come up in my comment section. That's how I know. The way that you express yourself, I can tell. And here's number 3. It's natural for childless men to want to start their own family with childless women they marry. So why do single mothers act shocked and offended when men who don't have kids reject single mothers? I agree. It is extremely natural for a childless man to want to start his own family with a childless woman. That is okay. That is nothing wrong with that. Your preference is all good to me. Okay? But what I think some of you are misunderstanding is why it bothers single mothers. What's bothering us isn't men rejecting us or choosing something better for themselves. What's bothering us is that men who don't consider single mothers their preference are trying to convince other men not to date single mothers simply because it's their preference. Let that be your preference. Don't try to convince other men that have no issue with it that they shouldn't date single mothers. Because again, not all single mothers are created equal. You can meet a woman who is an amazing woman and not even know she has children, and then come to find out she has a child, and it's like, oh my God, you're amazing. You're an amazing woman. You're beautiful. You're good to me. You laugh. You have a great sense of humor. I would have never guessed that you was a single mother. Men have treated me that way. When I was dating, listen, when my daughter's 21 now. When my daughter was still a toddler and was like really, really young, right? In my relationships with men, when I first started like dating these men I ended up in a committed relationship with, when we was dating, I didn't even mention I had a child. I would just be on the date enjoying him. And when I wasn't with him, I was minding my business and he was minding his. And we built our friendship based off of how we feel about each other. So then when time went on and he was like, hey, I want to be in a relationship with you. Then it was like, oh, so you want to take this seriously? Okay, well, let me tell you what's going on with my life. And by this time, we've built some type of rapport, some type of friendship, and some type of love and care for one another. By this time, he just loves me so much that he's just loving my kid because my kid is a part of me. That's what I noticed with men. Like, men wasn't walking up to me saying, yo, you got kids. Is you a single mother? Nah, we just go out on a date, have a good time, talk, and not even really talk about who we were as people yet, but just enjoying one another. And that's how you fall in love. And a lot of people don't understand that that's exactly how you fall in love. You're not really thinking that hard about it. You're just loving one another. And so when I've been dealing with men, They didn't even know I had a daughter initially. And it wasn't because I was trying to keep it from them. It's just, it never came up in the conversations initially. And then maybe 3 to 6 months later, when we decided we wanted to be in a relationship, then we started talking about, where we stood financially and what we wanted to do with our career and what do we wanted to do with our kids. And by then, these men that fell in love with me as a person, to where they just accept all of me because they love me. You know what I mean? So it isn't that single mothers are so upset that you are rejecting them. It's just you try to make it seem like, as a man who doesn't date single mothers, that all single mothers have all of these negative traits that are undesirable, when that's not true. Just because it's not your preference doesn't mean it's every man's preference or should be every man's preference. Now, I get that men want to warn other men about certain types of women, but just because a woman is a single mother doesn't mean she's a bad woman to be in a marriage or a relationship with. But you guys want to pin that on every single mother, and that's why single mothers are upset, because the misjudgment. Men who have a lot of resources, men who are financially stable, men who have leadership roles, who want to be mentors and role models for their community, have no issue with dating single mothers because they have an abundance of space and opportunity to be able to do so. Men who struggle with the concept of starting a family with a single mother feel like they can't start a family with her because they feel like she's already started one and her family is a mistake or a burden or something like that. No, a single mother, listen, my son's father leaving me with my son doesn't make us any less of a family. He abandoned his family. Okay. So from our perspective, we just have a different kind of family. It isn't that we don't have a family or our family should be frowned upon or our family should be treated less than because it's just me and my son. There are different types of families, like there are different types of marriages. You got traditional marriage, you got open marriage, you got arranged marriage, you got gay marriage, it's so many different marriages, common law marriage. It's the same thing with family. You have families that two people are actually married, man and wife. Then you got other families where it's same-sex family. It's a gay marriage and they have children. Then you got people who have blended families where one of them was married and got divorced and was raising children alone, and another one was a single parent, whether it was a single father or a single mother or not, and then they decided to have a family together. And then you got women out there who married men who had children already and they didn't have children, but they ended up having children with that man after they married them. You know what I mean? It's the same, and it just, to me, family is family. You get to choose what kind of family you want. If you don't want a blended family, that's okay. But stop discriminating against other people's types of families. It's just as bad as racism or sexism or classism. Like, if you like dating black women, are you going to chastise another man for dating outside of his race and feel like he's scum of the earth? Some of you do, some of you don't. But what you shouldn't be doing is chastising this man for his preference, what he prefers, what works for him. Some people feel completely fine with blended families. There are people out there who are in a healthy traditional marriage, and then they turn around and adopt children that don't belong to them, that don't have parents. They just went to an adoption agency or orphanage and adopted a child that doesn't have parents. You don't look at them as if they're less than. Most people look at them and celebrate the fact that they did something amazing for the world and became parents to children that didn't have any. So why are black men the only men on the planet that feel so uncomfortable with adopting a child that doesn't belong to them? That's my question. Now, it's okay for you to have your preference, but to turn your nose up at it like it's the worst thing in the world a man could do is disturbing. Because again, like I said, it's people who traditionally married or women out there who can't give children. Like it's couples out there who can't get pregnant. And because they can't get pregnant, they just go adopt children. Think about all of the celebrities that adopt children. Shit. Angelina Jolie is a prime example. She adopted a shit ton of kids that didn't belong to her. Her and her husband. But was it frowned upon that them two decided to do that? No. So why do black men feel like it's such an abomination to repair their own community or abandon some children that are lacking a parent? Why is that so uncomfortable to you? You have to factor it in. You have to start measuring who you are as a man. When you look at another man who dates a single mother and then adopted her child, what a lot of men can't swallow is that for a man to date a single mother and adopt a child that isn't his, he's an exceptional man because it takes so much. And I don't mean so much in a negative way where it's a headache, meaning it takes a lot of love, care, kindness, resources, intellect, skill to be able to raise a child that doesn't belong to you. You got to get out of your own way. You know what I mean? Like, you got to really open up your mind. And a lot of men are scared to do that. So what's stopping you from dating single mothers is usually you not having any resources, you having fear, you not having the mindset to be able to deal with it. And it's okay if you don't have the mindset to be able to deal with it. You have to just say that instead of classifying single mothers as bad people so you can feel better about yourself, not being able to handle the responsibility associated with raising a child that's not your own. But a man who does it is a better man than you. And a lot of men hate to hear that. But it's the truth. It's a hard pill for a lot of men to swallow. You can't handle it, so you want to tell other men not to do it because you don't have the mindset. You don't have the resources. You don't have the self-control, or you don't have the skill to be able to handle it. So you want every other man on the planet to not deal with it. Dating a single mother doesn't always come with a headache. Okay? Yeah, some women out there who are terrible parents who do not know how to raise their children, so they got badass kids. And parenting sometimes is difficult, but it's not impossible. And it doesn't make you a bad person to care for someone other than yourself or people who are biologically connected to you. You heard of the saying, blood is thicker than water? I call bullshit. Because it's people out there who you are friends with and y'all are not related blood-wise, who love you to death and you love them as if they are family. Then you got people in your family that you can't fucking stand and don't want to ever see again. Right? So I don't understand why men purposely try to disconnect or not to bond with children that don't belong to them. But then again, like I said in the beginning, this is all about therapy. Because there's men out there who won't even bond with their own biological children. It's men, black men feel more comfortable with abandoning their own children. How many times have we heard of a black man who dates a single mother and he takes care of her children better than he takes care of his own? I've heard that story from single mothers so much, where a man will be dating a woman, they'll break up, he'll stop taking care of his own kids and then meet another woman and take better care of her children. Men will bond with whatever kind of children that they choose to. And it's not all of y'all, it's some of y'all. Some of y'all can bond, some of y'all can't. And that's okay. But what's disturbing about all of it is you turning your nose up at the wrong person. You don't turn your nose up on a regular at men who abandon their children, but you turn your nose up at single mothers. Why aren't you turning your nose up at men who can't even bond with their own children? I don't see men complaining about that, but y'all complain about the creation of single mothers. Single mothers aren't created equal. We don't all have promiscuous box. You know, not all of us are going around here having 4, 5, 6, 11 baby daddies. Shit, I'm surprised I got 2. But then again, look at the age gap of my kids. I have a 21-year-old and a 3-year-old. I really thought I was going to get married. Like, I thought that man loved me because his behavior reflected that until it didn't. Because it didn't start not reflecting that until after maybe like 3 or 4 months of me being pregnant. And he wanted to be out there in the streets, run around, because he thought his life was over once he had kids. And once he, you know. So not every single mother just was having a casual fling and then she ended up being a single mother. No, that's a stereotype. And not all single mothers are ratchet or broke or uneducated. No,